Hey, and thank you for clicking play. I better quickly get some videoing done of this machine that I bought back from the UK. I'll try and insert a photo, a scan of a photo of this machine in situ, but there's never a clear photo of it. But where I use this machine, which is in a converted garage in the last house that I owned in England. And then I left it there for my parents to communicate with me via MSN. Because initially I was only going to be in Australia for a year. Here I am, 20 years later. But yeah, this is genuinely my last PC that I built when I lived in England. So it's great to have it back. But let's just make sure that's on at the back there. Which it is. It does not power on. But the reason why I suddenly hit record on the camera is because it had been sitting there for 10 minutes while I set up things here on the table. And then it just started to come to life to a point. It's not doing it now. That's sticky. But it's certainly not booting. So let's have a quick look inside the machine, because I do know how to at least kind of jumpstart it into life. And I've not done it with a monitor hooked up because I want to do that for the first time so that we can talk through what spec this machine actually is and if it's how I remember it. Let's do it. Let's swing you guys around, have a quick look inside and go from there. So before we do that, just a quick bit about the machine. I mean, I built this machine because a friend at work called Rob at the time sold me a motherboard that he wasn't using because he'd upgraded to a Pentium 3, I believe. And it was a time I was an IT administrator. I had access to stuff. I can't remember where I got 2 floppy drives from or why I bothered to do that, but it's something I did. But it's back in the day where genuine machines, you know, would come with a CD-ROM drive, and if you wanted a CD writer, that's something you purchased. Pretty much any extra kit on this machine, including the sound card, the graphics card, the CD writer, and all of that, would have come from a company called Novatech in the UK, who are mail order only. And if you look them up, they actually still exist, which is really nice to see. So no affiliation. I'll pop a link in the show notes to Novatech. Great to see them still existing. Let's swing this round and have a look at the back. With all the cables connected, it's probably not the best way. Okay, so a clear look at the back. This time you've got not a lot on board. You've got a parallel port. Swing you around there. You've got obviously your normal PS2 sockets here, which I've just bent this one out of shape. You've got USB, and you've also got that's a hole for LAN. There isn't actually a LAN adapter in there, I don't think. No. You've got serial, which is nice. You've got parallel for printers, fairly normal of the time. And then you've got, there's the aftermarket graphics card here, because there's no onboard graphics. A network card here. Firewire, because I used to do video editing, so you got Firewire was very important to me. Modem here. And then you've also, oh no, sorry, that's another network card. There's another network card. And then you've got modem there, and then you've got a standard Sound Blaster compatible clone there. I think that's plugged into the right place. Yep, not a lot going on, fairly standard for the time. And this case, by the way, is one that I just purchased at the time, because like I say, my mate sold me his motherboard, and I remember going into a shop and just saying, what's the cheapest case you've got that'll fit this motherboard? And this is what they sold me. Shop on Camden Road, doesn't exist now. Camden Road, it's Tunbridge Wells. Right down the bottom of Camden Road, there is still an independent computer shop where there used to be one. So that's quite interesting. Right, let's open this up. And what I do know is, because I did tinker about, is that I need to get you in there with some more light. So let's do that next. Okay, with my mobile phone providing some light, what I do know is that... now, which one is it? This is where all your connectors are on the motherboard for the controls at the front of the PC. And one of them, I think, is it this one? Is the power switch. So I do know that if I trip that with the screwdriver, the machine will power up. So let's turn it on. And now it's not doing it. Damn it. So maybe it is a power supply issue. It's on. And we've got a lot of beeps. It's not happy. Let's see what the spec says it is. So we've got a Pentium. It's a Pentium 3. It is actually a Pentium 3 at 550. So it is actually a Pentium 3 running at 550 megahertz. I'm going to have to find a way of resetting that so I can see that again. Let's see what it boots into. This is all just happening now. It's XP. Okay. You can hear the disappointment in my voice. So my original hard drive, and I'm sorry for the error beeping here, but my original install was Windows 98 and Windows 2000 dual boot, and when I recovered this machine, it had some XP disks sitting on top of it, and so, as suspected, my dad at some point has had to do a fresh install, and he's decided to go with Windows XP, which would have been the easiest way out of a dead system at the time. But that means I've got some work to do, because I'm going to have to skip checking, press any key. I'm going to have to basically restore this back to what the build was before, and then go back to a backup disk that I've got, that beeping, to basically bring it back to what it was before. But the machine is alive, but it seems to be randomly booting itself. So it could be a power supply issue, or it could be a capacitor issue, maybe on the motherboard. It's going to be interesting troubleshooting that. But it's alive, and I forgot to plug in a mouse. Okay, and it's booted into Windows XP now. I did do a quick cut there because there was a family photo as the background, so I've changed that before turning this back on again. I need to stop that incessant beeping, so I'm going to restart the machine, and what my hope is, by going into the BIOS, and just, I assume basically the BIOS has lost its settings. So let's do that now, because I can't put up with that beeping, and I'm sure you can't either. Let's do that now. Right, so we've got a Tornado GeForce 2 card. Delete. Auto on the drive, nothing to look at there. Really not sure what's making it unhappy. Temperature alarm, maybe? Fan fail alarm. Could be that. Let's turn all the alarms off. Can't see anything else there. We've got no blinking power LED. That alarm's disabled. I was going to do save and exit. Let's see if it still beeps. The beeping is gone. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. Okay. That's fine. I have unplugged. I have unplugged the PC speaker. That's my fix. And we'll get to the bottom of what's actually going on there. Clearly the motherboard's not happy in some way. I'm just going to reboot it again. By way of shoving a screwdriver in the ports. Because I just want to have a look at this configuration that this machine has got. And then I think we're done for today because this machine needs some work. So it's a Pentium 3 MMX running at 550 megahertz. I'm very happy with that. I also saw it's a TNT 64 meg TNT GeForce 2 graphics card, which all seems to be working. And we've got that much RAM, 52 meg of RAM. What was that 500? I didn't count it properly. Let's have a look. I'll get it into Windows and we'll look at the RAM. I'm sure it's more than 52. Oh, it might not be. Might only be 52 meg of RAM. We'll have a look once it boots up. Okay, so booted up again. Let's just go into my computer. My computer. Properties. Doesn't want to open. Come on. Can we even browse that? Yeah, we can browse it. We just can't see the properties of the computer. This machine is really not happy. It's waking from a very long slumber, I think. Okay, so what we have is we have the Intel Pentium 3 processor, which I'm so stoked about. 550, give or take, megahertz. Everything is throwing up errors. And 512 meg of RAM. I clearly dropped a 0 when I was looking at it in the load screen there. So I'm very happy. There's the serial number if anybody cares. Not that it matters. And this was finally my dad's PC. There we go. I might blur out the serial number of the name actually, but yeah, it was my dad's PC. It currently has XP on it. All right, let's wrap this up because the battery is running out on this camera again. So, look, while we enjoy a rather bizarre camera angle, actually that's not bad, but basically forced by the fact that I've had to plug in the camera, let's just have a recap here. I mean, basically, I'm really happy to have this PC back. It's not the software I had installed on it because my dad's clearly had to redo that, and clearly the motherboard has a lot of issues which have currently been, I mean it seems to be seeing everything, but it's currently been fixed by simply unplugging the PC speaker, which I'm pretty sure is not a solid fix. And obviously the fact that it doesn't actually power up properly, it seems to just randomly possess itself. and grant itself power. So either a power supply issue, I'm hoping that, I mean that's the most obvious thing to look at first, or we could be looking at maybe a capacitor issue on the motherboard, which is why it's not powering up, and then slowly having the ability to do that. But regardless, even when it's plugged back into the motherboard, this switch doesn't seem to do anything at all. So some issues to look into. So obviously there's going to be a part 2, which I think will be the hardware troubleshooting, and then there'll be a part 3, which is the software restoration to bring it back to where I had it. Now, where I had this machine was basically a Windows 98 and Windows 2000 dual boot. Windows 98 for gaming and Windows 2000 predominantly just for the security of when I loaned it to my parents. I set it up with a non-admin account so that they couldn't accidentally fill it with viruses. I believe I also used Windows 2000 for, I want to say, my video editing and my 3D Studio Max at the time, but that may not have actually been the case. My way forward is this. For simplicity, I don't actually want to mess about with Windows 2000. This is going to be a Windows 98 build, and I'll slowly restore to this machine the games I would have been playing in that era, and that's where this machine will end up. It's certainly a rival for the Aptiva, the AMD K62 450 in the other room, and I dare say, as this is my original machine, if I can get it up to where I want it, it'll probably replace it, and I'll happily pass the Aptiva on to somebody else to enjoy. Seems weird because the IBM is a badge machine, whereas this is a non-badge, but this is a personal machine, and that is worth its weight in gold. Thanks for watching.